can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Well, we're back for the second episode. I've just got the note. I've got a little bit of leakage out of my nostrils. It's not what you think it is. It's probably just the weather.
Oh, if that was me doing that, you'd be saying, "Oh, you had a big night on the Bolivian bush." You'd be carried on like a pork chop.
Well, if you were listening, I said it's not what you think it is.
I know.
I'd already said that.
Hey, that friend of mine, by the way, that I caught up with
at the bar, the hooker.
No.
No, sorry.
No, that I caught up with yesterday, Matty. He was telling me he's been on the Love Boat. I still haven't been on the Love Boat.
On the what? Oh, and our boat.
The Love Boat.
Has he? Matty has.
Matty has, yeah.
Good on him. What group was he with?
No, he used to...
Warwick's group.
He wasn't with Warwick's group. He said he's been on the Love Boat. Yeah. It used to be called the Love Boat, didn't it?
Yeah, well...
that was a good show, the Love Boat.
Yeah, a euphemistic name that the press gave it. It sounded as though we had bags of coke out there and we were pissed and there's hookers on there. Nothing could be further from the truth.
No?
No.
You've never been ladies of the night or anything like that on there?
Well, no, if there has been, and if there has been drugs or anything on it,
You didn't bring them on.
Didn't bring them on. I didn't know about it. In order to drive the boat, you have to have the same rules as you do when you drive a car.
I know. He was saying he'd been on the Love Boat, that's all. Yes, and I said, he asked me whether I said, I haven't been on it yet.
I tell you what, we'd love to do, Wayne.
Yeah.
And, someone coming in here who sells off the boat at a drop of a hat at various functions we go to, you could bring all your kids and your missus out and all the girls out, and we could we have a fantastic day out on the boat.
Okay. When it gets a little bit...
Yes, no, we're not going to go out. No, we're not going to go out in 7 degree.
How cold is it getting here in Melbourne at the minute?
Yes,
I'm heading up to the. I've got to go up to the Gold Coast for
what?
Night. Well, no, I'm going up there for an evening.
What?
I tell you. Talking about the Gold Coast.
Do you know who they replaced us with at Bowen Heads?
Who?
Hamish McLaughlin.
Oh, Hamish is a ripper.
He's a nice man.
Fella. Yep.
Yeah. Do you think he'll give some of the
insight
into
I can guarantee.
life that
I can guarantee you this. He's a little straighter than you and I. Hamish has lived. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, no.
Hamish has lived.
Speak about it?
Well, Hamish has lived.
What would he speak about, Hamish, do you reckon?
I don't know. He's very educated. You know what? Hamish is an absolute beauty.
He is.
He took me under his wing. He helped me at Channel 7 when I was there. There's very few people in the TV world and in the radio world that are established and that will go out of their way to help someone coming in.
You know what that's called?
Well, they're called...
being generous.
Correct. Selfless, generous. You know who else is one? Bruce McAvaney.
Yes.
Was very, very... Hamish and Bruce,
Eddie.
very, very similar. Eddie's always been unbelievably kind to
generous.
me and generous, absolutely. I put him in that category. And then you have, the BTs of this world... And I love BT, but he couldn't give a shit about anyone other than himself. Yeah, and I'm being a little...
No, I know, I'm with you.
Being a little cheeky. BT is focused on what he's doing, and that he's not like taking people under their wing and going, I'll help you out, young man. Like if there's a caller...
In case they pinch his job.
Correct. If there's a caller coming up through the...
You've got to be confident with who you are.
Yes, correct. Exactly right. And if a young buck comes through and he's showing a bit of talent, you just work harder and be better. That's what the likes of Hamish do and the Bruce McAvaney's of the world. That's what they do. So anyway, he's a good replacement. So well done to Bowen Heads. Is that who they were?
Yeah.
I wasn't even hired to go there, but I was going there.
I made a point of telling everyone.
I was going. I was going to pop my head in there for nothing. But
so
I'm
Dustin Fletcher's old man, father.
Ken.
Ken, is it?
Oh, yeah, Kenny Fletcher.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
No,
it's Ken.
No, I certainly would have known it was Ken. I played against Ken.
Yeah. Another Fletcher.
No.
There are other
Oh,
Fletchers
no,
that played.
it was Ken, was it? I thought it might have been the father of. Is he married? Dustin Fletcher might have been the father.
Yeah, he was.
Because
he
I
was
read
married.
that and I didn't associate
married.
Ken Fletcher with
His boy played over in the US in the college. It is Ken.
Well,
Yeah, Ken.
I know. Well, Ken
Well,
said
they've
he
gone-
thought it was a bit of a disgrace.
Well, I tell you what, they've straightened it right up with Ken and Hamish. They've straightened the function right up with Ken and Hamish.
No, Ken Fletcher's not going to the function.
Oh.
This is
What are you
another
talking-
topic.
what are you-
Ken-
I'll be honest. Sorry.
Ken
Anyway,
Fletcher's
for those,
father came out and said he thought it was a bit off. He might have even said it was a disgrace that Dustin hadn't been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he said, in light of, he mightn't have said this, but the general perception was in light of the fact that 2 women had been put in after having only been out of the game. I don't know. I don't want to get involved in that.
Meditate.
And I'm just saying, you don't order. How long's Dustin been out of the game?
Yeah, he's been out of the game for well and truly long enough to be inducted.
Has he?
Yeah. Well and truly.
Has he?
Probably, how long's he been out of the game for? I'd say probably 10 years.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Jason Dunstall, when did he finish playing football? He finished
He
playing
played
football.
about
He got
96.
inducted in the same year as me, 2002. When did he finish playing? 1996, you reckon?
Yeah.
I've got that written down here somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, he would have been straight away, Dunstall. He would have got inducted. The 4 years, you got to be out.
Well, he's probably...
Finished in 98 then.
So Ken, I think, is saying, why isn't Dustin in?
I would,
Which is reasonable.
Well, I tell you, there's a few people. Gary Lyon was one. He got
Yes.
inducted this year,
Yes.
and was deservedly so. Should have been inducted a long time ago. But guys like Wayne Johnson, what made him wait for like 20 years or 25 years or 30 years or something like that. So they have been some very good players that have been made to wait. The two that stand out for me is Dustin Fletcher is one of them.
Oh.
And Wayne Schwass from North Melbourne and the Sydney Swans is the other
Has he
one.
not been inducted?
He has not been inducted. He won 2 BNFs at North, premiership player. He won 2 BNFs at Sydney.
Yes.
So 4-time best and fairest winner. There are people in the AFL Hall of Fame that have not won 1 best and fairest.
Yes.
Not one.
No.
Not one.
No.
So,
All right,
if
so-
you win the best and fair, that's the highest accolade you can have with your particular club. He's won 2 at Sydney, 2 at North, and isn't in it. So I would say that has been a big
Oversight.
and I totally concur. Dustin Fletcher, 400 games, played on some of the best forwards. Well, not some of the best forwards, the best forwards the game has ever seen. He should be, quite simply, he should be in. And you're right. And then I could. What you don't do is it's a bit like there are not people that are in the Hall of Fame that probably shouldn't be in there. There are just people that are not in it that probably should have gone in before.
Yes. What about the Brownlow? Do you think there's a lot of people who...
Have won Brownlows.
There's a lot of people who won Brownlows who have probably in their whole life played 12 good games.
There's a few of those. There's a
But
few
it's
of
an
those.
quaint award, the Brownlow,
It is.
isn't it?
It is the most overrated award the game.
Most
And you
overrated.
know why I say that?
Because you haven't
I haven't won one,
Yeah,
correct.
that's right. But that's
it
Yeah,
is-
that's all right.
it is an overrated- it's a great award. It's a great
showpiece.
award.
It's a great night to go and get chatted up by hookers at the bar at their function. You know,
What do they actually have? You know what I do love about
The Brownlow?
I do it when the Brownlow comes up.
You
I have this.
Can't get into the lavatory.
I have this little thing. I love because it's like, I guess we are a reflection of society, and divorce is becoming more prevalent in society. So I assume that then reflects into AFL footy. But I do notice that a lot of the players, after they retire, after the just probably like the Hall of Fame type scenario, you're out of the game for about 4 years, and there seems to be a lot of
Where's this headed?
sort of seems to be a lot of separation after players finish playing their careers because generally their pay packets go down.
Yeah, and the gleam of their stardom drops.
All of that sort of drops off. So the other things drop off as well.
That's right. And
It's an interesting stat. Someone should champion data. Maybe we should get champion data to do a stat on what happens within the 4-year period of someone retiring.
Now,
How do you think that would?
yeah,
What do you think the stats would be on that?
big.
Yeah,
no, that'd be big.
Yeah, you think that'd be what?
So
70%,
So what-
80%.
Yeah.
It is.
There's a whole lot. Not to speak about these things because I don't know that you want to get involved in them. What about the Victorian government? Have the Victorian government are now slugging. They've got an emergency service and volunteer fund.
Yep.
They're taxing the people who are volunteer firefighters to shore up the coffers, and this is a bit like the farmers.
Hang on. So what they're taxing?
Hey?
What do you say that?
A
fire levy tax.
Yeah, and they're taxing all the people who are volunteers and all the farmers and all who are doing it tough. And
Yeah,
the government
they're
are trying
taxing
to,
them for the
Yes.
for the service of having a fireman come
Yeah.
and put out your
Who,
fire.
who do you reckon's running this state?
Yeah, that's you know what I did see.
Domesticated monkeys.
You know what I did see on the news the other day? Given that we can put a man on the moon, decades ago, and we've just worked out apparently we can now work out whether we get a certain amount of rain, whether a place is going to flood or not.
Yep.
And this has just occurred now.
Yep.
This has just occurred now. And the other thing that I've always, and bemused is the wrong word, but all of these the fires, and we've had LA. Recently,
Yep.
obviously, we've had a lot of fires here. We get a lot of flooding here.
Yep.
So that was great stuff that I saw the other night, which I can't believe that we've just been putting bags of sand up the side of a thing for forever and a day, and we couldn't predict whether something was going to flood before that. But we've now got the technology that can do that apparently, and that's going to be the new thing. Yeah. It's a bit like the tsunami warning that we have. We've had 2 tsunamis in the last 200 years around the world, but we've now got a tsunami alarm. Yeah. We have bushfires every year somewhere in the world, and yet somehow we can't, work out a way to stop that. And I know there's burning off and there's all this, but it just astounds me that we can do all of this stuff, but we can't stop. I know we can't stop the weather, we can't stop earthquakes, or we can't stop rain, or we can't stop the sun, and which is what, but. Surely we can negate how bad a bushfire is, and we can negate how bad a flood is.
They say
this world that we live in.
They say climate change is responsible.
But you agree?
Yes.
We should be able to negate that more.
Floods
and fires.
What if the landscape catches fire? How would we stop that?
Well, it's a question I'm throwing up to you. Oh, you wouldn't. The jock's just walked in. You know what? This is the other thing. You know what? Now, despite everything, and we talked about friends before. He walked in. When I see him, and I see him looking healthy, bushy-tailed and bright-eyed. So the bushes are getting a little less. I think Chuck's been burning off.
Now
I like seeing his smiling face. He puts a smile on his face.
Just hang on a minute. Let's just give Sue O'Broke here. Now, Sue, if he sits down there, well, I can turn him on the mic. What about is he on here?
You just keep going on.
Come and sit here, Chuck.
Where's he going to sit there? Okay.
Well, he's going to sit there.
Well,
I know you said you didn't.
No, I said it works better with 2 people. But I'm happy to talk to
No,
Chuck.
he hasn't come in to be on it necessarily, but seeing as he came in to give me a certificate.
He looks bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Anyhow, Sue will work around this. So Duck, you just said the climate change has now just been responsible for everything. It's called the weather. The weather changes, and you say the landscape catches on fire and floods, and they say it's the worst floods and the worst fires since 1948 of last century. So if it's the worst, it was happening 100 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah,
So why haven't we worked out? I know that. I know where you're going with this, but what I'm talking about is why can't we negate it more quickly, or stop it before it happens.
Well, how do you stop someone throwing a lit cigarette out of the fire up at the out of a car at the Dandenongs and the
that's-
whole mountain catching on fire?
Yeah, true.
How do you stop that?
I just thought that we would have a technology by now, and I'm not talking about planes flying over and dropping some
Elvis.
water. We would have some sort of technology that would help us fight fires and floods quicker than what we do now, given that we can put someone on the moon decades ago and we can do all these other things. We can, people can just get in a rocket now and just, go up there and do that, and we can do all sorts of things. We can have heart transplants. We can do this. We can do that. Anyway.
Oh, very, very. We got him on. Sue, is this working?
Is the chook on? There he is. Look at him.
No, this is we've
good to see,
thrown
mate.
the editor and the producer into array over here, disarray. Now we were speaking about. I said he was a friend of mine, but the Duck said no, you can't have him as a friend.
Who?
Warwick.
Yeah, well, I didn't say you can't. I didn't say you can't
I
have him
said
as
he
a
was
friend.
and
You said no.
You said he's not a friend of
hang
mine.
on. Is he? So I'd like you to clarify. So he's a friend. You said your friends are on one or two hands. So he's on one of those hands. Is he? Is he? He's more of an acquaintance. I would have thought. For you.
I wouldn't say he's got onto. I wouldn't say he's got onto my finger.
What, toes?
No,
You're only going to
When I
have.
say he's a friend, if he comes
If
in here, I don't tell him.
That keeps playing up. You're only going to have 5 toes.
Anyway, was his ear? That's what he said, didn't he?
Yeah, sure. Anyway,
so,
I don't know how we got onto it.
So you've had your arguments with Warwick, and you've made up. Is he a friend of yours?
Yeah, look, absolutely. At the end of the day, true friends are, you go through ups and downs.
True
You
friends.
and I have had our battles. Wayne and I have had our battles, but at the end of the day...
Oh, no, Chuck. I said we're mates. He was the greatest manager the game's ever seen. I've said that. Chuck, no, I don't say anything about anyone I wouldn't say to them. Like he said, we've had our disagreements, but that doesn't mean. I went and picked him up the other day. We had a coffee. We had a chat. He was in the news. When I'm in the news, he rings me. So fair to say the calls are coming backward and forth. quite often. No, but he does get a bad rap. Some of it, I've told him to get off social media. That's one of the things he should do.
So he gets a bad rap.
He does.
We all get bad raps for some of the.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question, Ricky.
Yes, Samuel, go ahead before I make something positive.
Yeah, don't go getting controversial. The Chook's in here. He's come in here. I can read this certificate that he's got here, which says he's going to pee in your pocket.
No, he's not.
Well, by the looks of this, he is. I'm just reading it.
No, but this is a generic thing for everyone. Righto.
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
Half of the Devonish, Dookie and District Good Friday.
What's that,
Hang
mate?
on, say that again.
The Devonish, Dookie and District
Devonish,
Good Friday Appeal.
Dookie District Good Friday Appeal.
So this is associated with the...
Is this real?
Absolutely, mate.
Sounds like a.
They've raised over $1 million in the last 4 years.
Wayne's Ricky's speech therapist. Can you believe it?
It's actually taking a little bit to spit it out, I must admit.
Devonish Dookie District Good Friday Appeal.
But last year they raised $235,662 thanks to Sam donating a couple of signed jerseys.
No,
I think that was 200,000 of the 235, I'd say.
That's right. I'm one of hundreds of people. Well, I appreciate that.
Hang on, is this a real certificate or the ones you normally be given?
That's actually not a bad line for you. Not a bad line.
Well, you said.
No, that's a real. That's look.
It's not
The
for
Chuck.
me.
No, put that down.
While we're on the certificates and stuff, Chuck. And I don't know whether you can talk about it because it's still in the courts, is it?
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a good hearing last week, very supportive.
Yeah, very.
of my-
So,
Oh, well,
so
there you
let's-
go. I was
let's-
about to do it, and you said, "No, come on."
It's just, I just want
Go
to.
ahead.
I just want to clarify something quickly.
Yeah.
Forever and a day, I have all football clubs. There have been football clubs over the years. I've walked into many a venue where I've seen something of myself in that venue, not signed by myself. Yeah. I remember back in the day that if you didn't sign it, someone at the club would sign it for you. This has been going on forever and a day. If there's one person that wouldn't need to do that I know in the football world, it would actually be him. Why would he need to forge someone's signature.
Well, why would I need to pay $20,000?
I know. I just don't get that. I don't think the Chook, like I said, he's like all of us. He's not perfect. I tell you what, I don't think he's forging footballs.
Okay, so for the sake of this conversation,
That's
so,
just my. You know that.
It's
It's ridiculous.
It happened 4 years ago. It's just a
No, of course people are interested in because it's still before the courts, isn't it?
yeah, they got their last chance at prosecutors because they've adjourned it 5 times.
So, Ricky, you were selling footballs with forged signatures on it.
No, that's not correct because the footballs have never been presented to me nor shown to me. So how would I know if they're forged or not?
And why?
Oh, so why are you being charged?
Anyway,
How much does a football?
No.
No, Sam.
No,
why would a
I'm
football
not
be?
having a
Why
go.
would
I
it?
was charged with 27 charges. 20 of them have been dropped. They've now changed it from fraudulently to recklessness.
You're right.
I recklessly provided a certificate.
Okay.
I shouldn't have provided it if I knew they were fraud.
I'm not having a go at you.
Don't turn
provided 1 million certificates over the last 40 years. You know, geez, I'm sorry.
Don't turn it into this because that's why I said if you two want to have a.
I'm
chat,
not having. You asked him about. He
I
wouldn't.
did. No, I just
I'm
said
asking where we're up to with.
I thought I came in here for a positive chat.
You wait till I ask you. Will you wait till I ask you my next question?
Go for it. Look me in the eye when you do it, will you? Oh, he's getting upset now.
No, I'm not getting upset. So so that's before the courts, and I take it on board what he says and all that, and what you say. What about the other thing about threatening the coppers? What is that about, Ricky? What would you do that for?
That's about what is the explanation to it, Sam, and I'm not going to discuss it on here. After last time I discussed something on here, they held it against me in the court. So I'm not going to discuss something on here that hasn't even been to court yet.
But that's a pretty.
But it's called prejudicing a case. I cannot discuss it.
You can't discuss that, Sam. But I think, look, the Chook's had his battles. He's like I said, he's working through what he needs to work through. The courts will deal with that.
He
can't talk about it.
Victimised a bit.
I'm not here to talk about things, but let's just say the truth will come out. There's a current investigation going on too.
About the coppers.
Well, if you want to say it that way, yes.
Well, the police.
Yes, there is.
You threatened them to kill him.
Oh, just
Did I?
No, I'm asking you. That's what's reported.
I'll let you two finish this.
That's what's reported doesn't mean that's what's right.
Right, good. Well, no, that's what. But that's public knowledge.
Chewy's back in. That means you two can finish.
No, we're finished. We're finished. So what? What about Warwick's penalty? Do you think, seeing as you're what do you think about that?
I thought it very interesting. If you've seen today's paper, which someone showed me at the bakehouse this morning over a coffee, where his manager said we knew about this 6 months ago. So why is it suddenly news now?
Yeah, no.
Why? Because Warwick was in the news 2 weeks ago. So let's just add this story in now.
Yeah, there it is. There, yeah, I took a photo of it. That's the article there. Yeah, no, I read all that. Yep. Well, you'll have to open it out there.
12 years ago, I got suspended for being in a corporate box.
Not exactly front page.
What?
No, well, if it was you or me, it'd be front page.
Yeah, 12 years ago, I was in a corporate box and someone was filming from outside the box, and I told a joke about Caroline Wilson. They suspended me for 12 months. And then 12 months after, they came to me and said, "Oh, we're sorry, we made a mistake. What you said about her was true." Chicken goes bang.
You ask him what that means, seeing as you think I'm...
Say it works better. It works better with the two of you. Good to see you, Chook.
No, hang on. No, just a minute. Now, there's other things we want to speak about, isn't there?
But just on Warwick, I mean, at the end of the day...
Yeah, so you two can talk about...
I'm speaking to you.
You two can talk about Warwick.
No, I'm not speaking about Warwick anymore.
I don't need to speak about... I don't need to speak about Warwick.
No, we're not speaking about Warwick.
Well, it's just a boring topic.
Well, that could be true.
You're off.
Yep, I'm off. I'll wait. You two can talk. Thank you. You can now you can talk about whatever you two want.
Isn't your friend coming?
Yeah, he's coming. I'll wait there.
You're removing yourself from this.
Well, you two can have a chat.
Show, please.
Well, move down. Come and sit down. Ah, dear me. He's a good man, the Duck. I like that. All right. So where are we up to, Ricky? What's going on in your life?
Well, I was down in Tasmania last weekend for an unbelievable game with Mitch Robinson, the ex-Brisbane star, and played the undefeated South Burnie Football Club. And they led all day, the team Yolla that Mitch Robinson was playing for. And with 1 minute to go, South Burnie hit the front by 5 points.
Mate, you've got the microphone over your hooter.
Oh, sorry.
No, well, we want to see your face.
Well, most girls do, but anyway. So he gets jealous all the time, Duck. Yes, how do you pull hotter chicks than me? That's he's always said all his life. Anyway, that's another subject, Sam. Anyway, great game down in Tasmania. And
So you've watched the game as a player manager. Which, how's the game going, do you reckon?
It was interesting on the weekend. I'm not saying it because you just raised it, but I don't think I've ever been asked more what I think of today's game than last weekend. And people are saying the same as me. It's boring. It's this going backwards and round in circles. I've said for over 15 years there's only one rule I need to change. No kicking backwards. Kick forward to a one-on-one contest.
The players aren't as good as they were.
No,
100%. And that's just the way it is. And if you can honestly say you've seen a good game in the games are never good. They're exciting and they're close and all that. The skills are just I hate to say it. But you ask anyone who's not invested and doesn't have an ulterior motive to say the game's great. That's the people that work for the networks or work for the stations that don't want to talk the game down. But the game is in a state of disrepair. It's run badly and it's played badly and it's umpired badly. Other than that, it's great.
Well, I think the key is simply this: I said to people on the weekend, name the best 15 players in the competition. I think the best anyone did was 7. If you did that 30 years or 20 years ago, you'd be able to name 40 superstars in the game.
Well, now look, I was going to speak to him about a few other things, but he's gone. Go on, have you got anything to speak to us about?
It's interesting about the Tassie situation. That was raised with me what I thought, and I brought back a memory of when they created the licence in Sydney. I came up with the concept of creating the Sydney Celtics, like the Boston Celtics, one of the most successful sporting franchises in the world, that the Sydney Celtics would be the only Irish team in the AFL. And I reckon it's a no-brainer. The games would be broadcast back into Ireland. Imagine the Irish people in Australia who would follow it. You'd get 100,000 people to every game.
Thanks for doing this, Duck. The Duck's just over there, just at arm's length from all this.
Before you go, Duck, that box is something for you to...
Do you want me to sign something?
Yes, for the Diggers Rest.
We'll get a photograph of you signing it.
I will sign it too, Chuck. I'll sign it.
It's also for that kid who was in the car crash in Tasmania. Yep.
I gave you a wrap.
So there's three in there. Okay. There's a texter in there somewhere.
Well, I don't know, Ricky.
Can you legitimise...
He thinks I'm not having a go. I'm just saying the things that you get into the paper for they always end up in court, or they're extravagant. How does that happen?
Well, everywhere I go, 99% of the time, I get so much support, it's ridiculous. Most people know what clickbait media is these days. It's just total crap. Community outrage because Ricky Nixon goes through stop sign by 1 millimetre. And it just goes on and on.
Now, I don't like to bring this up again, but
so
what was the police thing about? No, seriously.
The police thing was simply about this is over 15 years I've put up with certain behaviour and I shouldn't have to. It's outside the rules of the world and the laws of the world and I can't put up with it anymore. And in fairness to...
so that resulted in you making that statement about the police.
Which was withdrawn immediately. And I wasn't the only person on social media that night that hated, apparently. 1.2 million people hated on social media that night, but only one got arrested, which was leaked to the media.
You know what he's talking about, Duck? You do you?
Anyway, as I said, can't talk about it. Can't only prejudice the case. Moving on, Sam.
All right. Well,
So why isn't the team in Tasmania called the Tassie Devils and be an Irish team broadcast back into Ireland, make plenty of money for both the AFL, introduce Ireland to AFL football, and have a massive following around Australia that would create a stadium that would be packed every weekend in Tasmania?
well, do you think it unusual that they announced the team and all the infrastructure, and they haven't even got a ground nailed down? Is this
I do
ever
find.
going to happen?
I think that they got ahead of themselves. There's no doubt about that. But they're going to have to resurrect it pretty quickly, or they're going to lose the faith of the Tasmanian people who deserve to have a team down there.
Well, I was going to ask the Duck about there's a few there's a few other things I was going to ask about, but they've got nothing to do with football. They were just opinions about. I don't know where we better wind this up, hadn't we? Anything else?
I had something else to say. I can't remember.
Well, go
what it was
on.
now.
Say it now.
No, but also, Sam, well done for helping out the Royal Children's Hospital.
Well,
and,
but you
that's-
make us out that's me. That's
well, you contributed, and
Yeah,
Joe,
but everyone
I think if you don't mind, I'll give a shout out to James Hurd, Dyson Heppel, Matthew Richardson, who also helped out signing jumpers for the Royal Children's Hospital, and I'm sure those kids will benefit from it. And Wayne goes out of his way quite often. He helps me out with a young kid in Tasmania at the moment.
Wayne is a star. What about now? Do you think Warwick? We asked you that. Do you think 5 years of being banned for what Warwick's done is excessive?
Look, I think I've spoken to Warwick about this before, and the way he makes certain statements were funny for 30 years, but unfortunately, it's not Warwick's fault. In the world we live in these days, people are offended by those statements, and look, I'm sure he would take it the wrong way, but he just needs to pull his head in a bit, like we all do, myself included. Sometimes don't say what you think.
Well, look, there's stars coming in as we speak. The door is swinging open with people coming backwards and forwards. So at this stage, I think we'll wind this up, will we? This has been a shorter episode. Don't forget Ray Mooney is coming up, and if you want to watch The Duck and I, and now you can watch The Chicken, you can watch us on You Cannot Be Serious podcast, link to the bio section on Instagram, or you can listen to us on your favourite podcast outlet or streaming service. So that's us. That's the Chicken there. The Duck's over there now speaking to
Rombo.
I reckon top Rombo. So Rambo. So that's it from You Cannot Be Serious.